Move your stupid sign. I'm late for the meeting. That's what this Karen, yeah, a real-life Karen, if you can believe it, yelled at me while her fancy white Mercedes was stuck axle deep in my cornfield. She'd been using my farm as her own personal shortcut for a solid week, tearing up more than $3,000 worth of crops, and now she was demanding I help her get unstuck. The audacity, man. Unbelievable, right? And get this, when I told her no, she actually called the police on me for blocking her commute. That's when I realized she'd just picked a fight with the wrong farmer. Trust me, what happened next is legendary. Don't forget to drop a comment about where you're watching from, because you're not going to believe what I did next. Let me rewind a bit, set the scene for you. Name's Jake Thompson, third generation on 40 acres of prime farmland my granddad carved out of nothing in 1952. This dirt's been in my family 70 years, feeding folks from here to the next county. Every morning, I stand on my porch, coffee steaming in the cold air, watching the sun come up over fields I know like my own face. That Monday morning started just like any other, except for the sound of gravel exploding under spinning tires and that diesel roar, way too aggressive for a sleepy country road. That's when I saw it. A white Mercedes SUV flying across my property like it owned the place, not even slowing for the bright yellow private property, no trespassing sign I'd put up just last month. Nope. In fact, she sped up, snapped the metal post in half, and sent the sign flying. I stood there in my socks, mouth open, watching this rich person's toy rip a trail through my corn. Deep, angry tire tracks. Corn stalks I'd sweated over for months, flattened. Each one a paycheck, a meal, gone in a heartbeat. And this wasn't a lost tourist or some city kid who didn't know better. No, this was deliberate. Like my field was her right-of-way. She didn't even slow down. Didn't stop. Didn't so much as glance at what she destroyed. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking, started recording. Her plate was clear as day, HOA 1. And a sticker on the back window, board member. This was someone who thought their title made them more important than the rest of us. Someone with an agenda. And now I had her on camera. See, after a rash of vandalism last year, I'd set up security cameras around the property. Granddad always said, hope for the best, but lock your shed anyway. That day, that foresight paid off. The cameras caught it all. The sign, the tracks, the whole mess, time-stamped 7:32 a.m. Walking down to the ruined rows, anger and disbelief just built up in me. How could anyone be that entitled? Every crushed plant was money gone. Food that wouldn't make it to harvest. Hours of sweat, out the window. The sign lay in the dirt, paint chipped and faded. I put it up after folks started treating our farm road like a county shortcut, but apparently, some people need stronger reminders. My neighbor, Betty Patterson, waved from her kitchen window, her face a mix of sympathy and, can you believe this? At least I had a witness. Around here, neighbors still look out for each other. Betty's been watching this land nearly as long as my family has owned it. But in my gut, I just knew this wasn't a one-off. The way that Mercedes cut through, it was someone testing the fence, seeing how much they could get away with. I've been working this dirt for 15 years, ever since my old man passed, and I've never had a run-in like this. Hunters who get lost? Sure. Teenagers sneaking a six-pack? Happens. But this was new. A person with resources, connections, and zero respect. It wasn't lost on me. Here I am, growing food for hundreds, and some stranger just trashes it for a shortcut. Wrong farmer to mess with, lady. As I walked back to the house, I saw something shiny in the dirt by the broken sign. A little strip of chrome off her running board. Evidence. Granddad used to say, respect's earned, but boundaries? Those you enforce. All my life, I've tried to be the good neighbor. Help folks during harvest, lend a tractor, mind my business. Apparently, that's not enough. Some folks only understand one language, and it isn't kindness. Looking at those tire scars, I felt something shift in me. This was about more than a couple grand in damage. This was about whether a regular family could make a living without getting stomped by people who think their money puts them above the law. I didn't know it yet, but that was the opening shot in a war I never wanted. Next morning, I was up early, couldn't sleep. Coffee in hand, standing guard on the porch, wondering if yesterday was a fluke or if this was a new normal. Right on cue. Here comes that same diesel growl, and that white Mercedes pops up around the bend. Didn't even slow down for the property line. No hesitation. This time, she veered even wider, cut straight through my soybeans too. That's 2 fields now. And she was on the phone the whole time, looking like a CEO, not a trespasser. I got everything on camera. License plate, the board member sticker, timestamp. This wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. And then, for a second, we made eye contact through her tinted window. There was no embarrassment, no apology, just smugness. She gave me a little wave, like she was the queen passing the peasants, and then gunned it, spraying gravel at my boots. I stood there coughing in her dust, trying to process the arrogance. I called the sheriff, filed a complaint, sent over the video, got a case number. No promises of fast action. Property disputes take months, they said, especially if the trespasser has friends in the community. Basically, I was on my own. Betty came out to the fence. Jake, I saw it all. She's getting bolder, waving at you like she's at the parade. I asked if she recognized the driver. Betty nodded. She lives up in that new subdivision, Meadowbrook Estates. Expensive cars, expensive attitudes. The HOA 1 plate started to make sense. Someone at the top of that food chain. I spent the rest of the morning taking photos, researching the law. Trespassing's a misdemeanor, but unless you've got proof it's deliberate, hard to prosecute. Luckily, I had video of 2 days, and now I spotted something else on the recordings, a black sedan following the same shortcut 10 minutes later. Great, word was spreading. At this rate, my place would be the county's unofficial expressway. That evening, another pink envelope showed up in my mailbox. Pink. Return address. Meadowbrook Estates HOA, in Comic Sans of all things. Inside, notice of community enhancement project. The HOA had voted to build an access road through currently in used farmland, my farmland, to reduce commute times. I could hardly believe it. They'd held an emergency session and passed it unanimously. Signed, Karen Hayes, President, with a heart for the dot on the I. That was it. I drove straight to the county clerk's office, pulled up the property maps. The HOA had exactly 0 authority outside their own fences. They couldn't build a road any more than they could annex the moon. But as I dug deeper, I found Karen's husband, Richard Hayes, on the city council, pushing zoning reforms to let developers eat up the farmland. Suddenly, all that confidence made sense. This wasn't just one entitled woman. It was a coordinated land grab. That night, as I sat in my kitchen, headlights swept across my fields. Her Mercedes. A county inspector's rig. They spent 20 minutes inspecting my land, taking pictures, jotting notes, looking for any violation they could use to force me out. Next morning, another pink letter. $500 a day, fines for obstruction, threats of all legal remedies. And now Richard Hayes' name, too. I called the county recorder. My deed was rock solid from 1952. No easements, no ambiguity. But as I learned real quick, when they write the codes and hire the inspectors, the rules bend their way. Time to push back. I met up with Betty, told her what was happening. It's bigger than you, honey, she said. They're pressuring everyone along this stretch to sell out. Old dairies, orchards, you name it. Suddenly, I wasn't just fighting for my land. I was fighting for the whole neighborhood. I called my best friend, Brad, runs Sullivan Construction. His cousin works at the planning office, and word was out. Richard Hayes was pushing hard for zoning loopholes. Brad came by the next morning, coffee in hand, grim as I'd ever seen him. We fight this the right way. Don't give them ammo. Document everything. We took photos, marked damage, and then marched into the sheriff's office. Laid out the case, showed them every threatening letter, every timestamp. Sheriff Wilson shook his head. Seen disputes, never like this. Here's the thing, Jake. On your own land, you can build irrigation ditches, put up fences, whatever you need, just don't intentionally hurt anybody. He gave me a look. If someone happens to drive through a legitimate AG project, well, natural consequences. That afternoon, Brad and I drew up plans for an irrigation basin. Legal, practical, and just so happened to sit right on Karen's shortcut. It'd look like any other patch of field, covered with hay. Not a trap, just a lesson in boundaries. We worked by headlamp that night, and by dawn I blended right in. Thursday morning, regional inspection day, perfect timing. Karen's Mercedes roared in, running late, and I watched from the porch as she braked just before our new basin. She actually got out, heels and all, to inspect it, started taking photos, probably planning to call it in as sabotage. Then she whipped out her phone and started live streaming for her HOA crowd, full of drama, domestic terrorism. Some deranged farmer has set a trap on public right-of-way. As she backed up for a better shot, she stepped right into the basin. Her fancy heel punched through the dirt. Her leg sank knee-deep in mud, and she let out a scream that echoed all the way to the barn. And it gets better. She tried to pull free, lost her balance, and toppled right into the muck, still live on camera. Designer suit, perfect hair, all of it dripping with clay. Help! I'm drowning in farmer quicksand. I strolled down, coffee in hand, Brad filming from the barn. Morning, Karen. Looks like you found our emergency drought project. How's the water retention working out for you? She shrieked. You did this on purpose. Attempted murder. I just shrugged. Ma'am, you're trespassing on private agricultural land. This is a perfectly legal irrigation basin. She scrambled and slipped, phone lost, screaming for help. Just then, Sheriff Wilson and a regional supervisor rolled up, took one look at the scene, try not to laugh. The supervisor, deadpan, told Karen she was suspended pending a review. It took a tow strap to pull her out, caked in mud, dignity gone. And the fallout? Karen sued me for $175,000. Vehicle damages, therapy, agricultural terrorism, you name it. But her viral live stream did her in. My lawyer, Sarah, played the video, the insurance report, where Karen claimed it was a public road, and called out her husband's dirty tricks on the stand. The judge threw out her claims, found her guilty of trespassing, ordered her to pay damages, and sent the fraud investigation to the DA. Karen's husband resigned from the council. The inspector got fired. The local paper ran, "Justice served. Viral farmer wins big." Suddenly, my little mud pit became Karen's karma crater, a symbol. Insurance covered the crops, legal fees were repaid, and the whole mess put enough in my pocket to upgrade the farm. The best part? That basin filled up naturally, turned into a pond. My grandson Tommy fishes there now. A plaque reads, "Where entitlement meets reality." Some lessons sink deep. Meadowbrook Estates? They kicked out the HOA board, made me community liaison. Betty's Barn is now the local hub for property rights, with monthly potlucks and mud wrestling contests for charity. Netflix even called about a documentary. Karen? She moved out of state. Her mansion bought by a young farming couple who put a veggie garden out front. Her ex-husband now sells insurance. And sometimes when the sun sets over the pond and my grandson asks why that mud lady drove through our corn, I tell him sometimes folks forget where their rights end and others begin. But the land remembers. Funny, isn't it? What started as a trespass became a rallying cry. The day I stood up, I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was holding the line for every working family tired of getting pushed around. Good fences make good neighbors, sure, but respect, that's what keeps the peace, even when no one's looking. Now, let me ask you, have you ever stood your ground against somebody who thought the rules didn't apply to them? Tell me below. Where's the line for you when it comes to justice and respect? Would you have done the same? Because sometimes the only way to make a lesson stick is to let folks learn it the hard way. Like my granddad said, some holes are just holes, but some, well, they're reminders that every shortcut comes with a price. Drop your stories below. I want to hear your take on where justice should draw the line. And if you ever find yourself up against a Karen on your land, just remember, sometimes the mud does the talking for you.